So I have this chicken parmesan recipe that I put on the internet years ago, and it's one of my most popular recipes, both on the internet and in my own house. So I make it frequently, and the way that I've made it has changed a little bit over the years, and I wanted to show you some ways that I've kind of streamlined the process. Also, this is the way that I've been making it lately for my super picky eater kids. We're gonna have chicken parmesan chicken fingers, basically, and I'll show you some things that I did that I think can make this work specifically well for the chicken nugget generation. Now, whether it's for kids or adults, these days I've been using chicken tenderloins for this instead of using the main chicken breast muscle. The tenderloin is this muscle that kind of sits underneath the main muscle of the breast, and it is sort of reminds people of the beef tenderloin, even though it is just anatomically not at all the same thing, or culinarily. It's just another piece of white meat. What's nice about it is that it's small, and therefore it fries pretty quickly. You get a nice ratio of crispy outside to meaty inside. I used to take the chicken breast and I would kind of cut it this away, just to get two really thinner pieces, but that's kind of a tricky maneuver for some people, and it's honestly just unnecessary if you buy the tenderloins, which are smaller and thinner. We are going to pound them out, however. Covered with plastic so that we don't splash raw chicken juice everywhere as we hammer this. This is really the secret meat mallet. This is the thing that you really need for this recipe, in my opinion. It's a meat mallet that's got spikes on it that looks like a torture implement, because this is what not only gets the meat flat, but also kind of beats it up and makes it a little bit reminiscent of ground meat. As a matter of semantics, I think the only difference between a chicken strip or a chicken tender and a chicken nugget is that a chicken nugget is made out of reconstituted ground chicken meat, whereas a strip or a tender is some whole piece of muscle tissue that has been breaded and fried. And if you hit it with the mallet like this, you kind of break it up a little bit and you get something that the kids honestly can't even really tell the difference between a nugget and a strip. And they kind of drop the matter. Flip that whole thing around the other side a little bit. Would you rather have toxic chicken juice spurting around your kitchen, or would you rather have microplastics driven into the center of your meat? I don't know, pick your poison. Bash up my garlic that I'm gonna be using in the marinade. All right, now in that goes for the marinade. And the chicken too I will throw in. Fully done with the cutting board. And then normally I just eyeball this, but today I'm gonna do a little experiment. I wanna see if my eyeballing is as accurate as I think it is. So what I'm gonna do is pour in just enough white wine to submerge everything. And if you don't drink wine, you can absolutely use water for this, or water spiked with just a splash of balsamic vinegar gets you something that's remarkably similar in effect to wine in cooking. Something like 1 part balsamic vinegar to 7 or 8 parts water. All right, 200 grams of wine, nice round number. Now we're gonna turn this marinade into a marabrine, it's gonna be a brine solution. So between 3 and 5% salt is usually what I do for poultry. For a quick brine like this, like a half an hour to an hour, I'll go on the higher end. And so this is how I would normally eyeball it. We'll see how close I actually get to 5%. Okay, and that ratio is relative to the weight of the liquid, the wine, not the total weight of the dish. Okay, I'm feeling like I wanna do another pinch and Okay, all right. So I feel like I'm eyeballing more like 3%, it looks like, but for these purposes, I think we want 5%. High salt for a quick brine. Maybe a little pepper just because it's sitting here. Normally I do a pinch of sugar in brines, but the wine's already sweet, so we don't need that. Just stir it around, get everything started dissolving. It'll dissolve more in the fridge. And then, just half an hour will make a really big difference, an hour even better. All right, in the fridge, and then we can assemble our breading. Panko, 100%. Absolutely nothing is as crunchy as panko. If you want to know why panko is so much crispier than normal breadcrumbs, I have a video all about that in the description. So some panko brands are a little bit too coarse for my taste. The pieces are kind of too big and they poke you in the mouth a little bit and you don't get really even coverage of the food. I don't like that. So sometimes I pick them up and I'll kind of grind them between my hands just a little bit to cut them down to size. But this brand, I actually kind of like the size of it just fine as it is. And then normally when I'm making it for grown-ups and me and my wife, I do about 50-50, equal parts by volume, breadcrumbs and grated pecorino or Parmesan cheese. That's a lot of cheese inside the crust, and it's a little bit strong for certain kids, and so I might use a little bit less this time, but it's real good. And I don't melt any kind of cheese on top of my chicken Parmesan. I don't do that mozzarella on top under the broiler. That's kind of the standard Italian-American thing. It's good, but I just value the crispiness of the breading more, and so I don't want to cover it with cheese, so I put the cheese in the breading. A whole lot of pepper for sure. a tiny pinch of salt, if anything at all. I mean, the cheese is salty, so many things are salty. And then if you have them, it's nice to just kind of tear in some fresh herbs. I just have some fresh parsley and basil here. When fresh herbs fry in a coating like this, they get kind of really bright green and they look really, really pretty. And that's something that you just wouldn't get like in a fast food chicken strips. And so it's something I like to do at home to make it kind of special for a person of any age. But for a small person, it also is kind of a really, really easy way to tiptoe into eating green things of any kind. And just toss to combine all of that. And since I'm not making tomato sauce with this today, that's all the prep I need to do. These things are going to be almost as easy to assemble as was my Helix mattress from Helix Sleep, sponsor of this video. Snap my QR code or hit my link in the description to get 20% off your Helix mattress plus 2 free pillows. A Helix is a very high quality premium mattress customized to fit your needs, conveniently shipped to your door under compression like this. You just drag it into the room, break the seal, and then it pops open. I wasn't trying to hide it as I was dragging that around. It's heavy because it's a really high quality mattress that just happens to come in the mail. It's customized to our needs because we just went to helixsleep.com/Ragusia and we took their sleep quiz where you tell them basically how you're sized and shaped and what kind of surfaces you like, firmness, how you sleep. And they chose for us the Helix Dusk, which we've been sleeping on for 2 years now, and it's the best bed we've ever had. And we've loaded up on lots of other stuff from Helix and associated brands, such as this weighted blanket that they sent me. It's so heavy and yet it lets out heat. They all come with a 10-year warranty, financing options, and flexible payment plans available. Hit my QR code or visit helixsleep.com/Ragusia right now for 20% off your Helix mattress plus 2 free pillows. Thank you, Helix. Okay, it's been about an hour. Here's our brinated chicken. And as you can see, there's been some chemical cooking of the meat. The meat is going a little bit white in spots from the proteins having been denatured by acid from the wine instead of heat in this case. Now to save dishes, I'm just going to take this over to the sink and I'm going to just drain the marinade straight out and also pick out the garlic pieces, throw those away. Squeeze the juice out. I wish I hadn't put the garlic skins in here this time. It's kind of hard to pick out. If you want, you can kind of dab inside there with some paper towels to get some more moisture out, but you know, it doesn't have to be bone dry. We're not making tempura here. I want moisture because we want a big, thick crust. Grandma crust. Okay, now I'll grab my biggest pan and get it heating up. I find that on my stove at least, I need to use 2 burners to heat a pan this big for something as heat intensive as frying a whole bunch of meat. Olive oil over other fats purely for flavor's sake in this case. And we'll need a good layer, but not a ton because we've got a lot of meat we can fry off all at once, I think, and that way through the magic of displacement we should have enough oil. Now your base coat of your standard 3-stage breading is going to be like flour or something on top of this. I've been shifting to cornstarch, used in frying in Asian restaurants more so, and I think it makes it crispier. I could be making that up. Eyeball some in there, just enough to barely coat everything, and then toss. Now it's time for the egg, and we're not going to need a whole egg for this much meat. Usually don't need the whole egg, and that's fine because, the white is actually better for frying. You get a lighter product if you only use the white. So you can just crack, let only the white dribble in there. And then this you can get rid of or just, that is not recommended by the health authorities, of course. But anyway, toss these around, and then it is time to bread. Knock off some extra moisture if you can. But I don't really care. Again, this is like grandma breading. I want it thick. And I just let these kind of break up as I'm doing this entire process, which is quite violent. When they break up into little bits, you get more surface area, more crunchy ends, and the teeniest little bits you can give to the teeniest little person and say, these are nuggets, and they really won't be able to outsmart you. There we go. And if they're in a big pile, that is just fine because we have boku breading as grandma intended. All right, the oil is ready when it seems too hot when you put in your first piece of chicken, because we're going to put in a lot of chicken and it's going to drop the oil temperature really fast. So it should seem too hot at first. Look at them, they're just kind of like strings of meaty pearls. Now is a good time to clean up all of this stuff. Since this is a reasonably sticky pan, I might just kind of poke around a little bit. I think we're going to release, we're going to be just fine. If you're nervous, you can kind of like lever stuff off the bottom with a metal spatula or something real stiff before you then go and flip with your tongs. You can tell this side is cooking a little faster than this one, so I'll just flip her around. Now these are going to be done on the inside by the time they are done on the outside. I guarantee you that. But when in doubt, overcook them, because remember that we brined these, or brininated them. And what brining does is it, among other things, is that it kind of creates this dissolved protein gel inside the meat that stays there as it cooks and kind of resists the evaporation of water over the course of the cooking. And it allows you to really overcook things and get away with it. You get a product that's kind of juicy enough in the end. And indeed, that's like the secret of the fast food chicken industry. You know, why like Chick-fil-A chicken, for example, has this almost kind of like gooey feel, slimy feel on the inside of the white meat. That's from the brine, and that's why they do it. It allows them to cook it to an incredibly, ridiculously safe internal temperature for a global chain that is a big target for litigation. Justifiably so in some cases, I'm sure. Looks like a meaty funnel cake. Love it. I really don't care if things are getting like beat up as I'm stirring this around almost like Chinese style, kind of in the wok, because it just kind of creates more surface area that gets crispy and yummy. Oh, note the lazy man's draining rig, by the way. Foil on the bottom, that way you don't have to wash the sheet pan. All right, yeah. You tell a kid that's a chicken nugget and just see if they'll try to call you a liar. Now, here's the other thing about chicken nuggetarians. Nuggetarian? Is that they very rarely eat food that is kind of just out of the pan. When they're eating from fast food restaurants all the time, they're eating food that has been like fried or cooked and then held in some kind of warmer for a while, during which time moisture equilibrates, temperature equilibrates, everything kind of evens out, and that changes the texture, and all kinds of other chemical changes no doubt occur that change the flavor of the food. And I've found that you can actually sneak some things through to the kids if you just hold them in a warm oven for a little while before you serve them. Plus, now we can fully clean up before we eat. It will surprise no one to learn that I advocate just everybody crowding around the pan and, helping themselves to whatever piece they want. It stays warm on here, and people can sprinkle some extra salt around there. As I kind of underseason the crust a little bit because one kid doesn't like salt, one kid likes a lot of salt. And then for Dad, I just kind of have been cutting a wedge of lemon lately and squeezing that over just like you would in kind of, Germanic cooking. Suppose this dish represents the union of the two genetic codes within me, my Germanic mother and my Italian father. Not tastes like fast food, in a good way. Yeah, fancy though, you taste the wine, which is fine for kids, just a tiny amount. Still juicy on the inside because of the brine. Hell yeah. Take that, picky eaters of the world.
What do you think?
It's a little bit spicy.
But is it delicious?
Yeah.